Today's episode of the Gone Fission Nuclear Report is brought to you by Fluor. We're building a better world. Welcome to the Gone Fission Nuclear Report, your one-stop source for all the latest news from the Department of Energy's Environmental Management Program. Now, here's your host, Michael Butler.
Hello, and welcome to the Gone Fission Nuclear Report. Today is Monday, May 15th, 2023. We're covering all the news from the Department of Energy's Environmental Management Program across the country. We thank our friends at Fluor for being presenting sponsor for today's episode. Ensuring an adequate workforce for the Department of Energy's Environmental Cleanup Program is a continuing concern and a high priority. There are decades of work left to do, and much of the current workforce is approaching retirement age. It's an alarming statistic, but true. Out of more than 1,100 employees in the government environmental management workforce, only 15 are below the age of 30.
We're seeing that it's an aging workforce, and so that's one of the drivers that is helping to make this a critical issue for our organization when we talk about hiring. The fact that the aging workforce, we have approximately 57% of our workforce that will be eligible to retire in the next 3 years. And that's a huge value proposition when we talk about knowledge transfer, the knowledge continuity, so that we may be able to continue to fulfill mission.
To counter this trend, EM is now engaged in an aggressive program to hire more workers. They're looking for procurement specialists, engineers, IT specialists, budget analysts, and more. DOE describes this as an evolving need that has an immediate component, workers are needed now, but also a longer-term component, which is leading the agency to partner with colleges and universities and to reach down to middle schools to show students the benefits of a career in environmental cleanup. The topic is timely. Just last Friday, EM announced it is strengthening its procurement capabilities to ensure the cleanup program has talented, capable acquisition professionals now and in the future. Recruiting, training, and retaining a highly skilled, technically focused workforce of acquisition professionals is paramount to the success of the EM mission, Angela Watmore, EM Deputy Assistant Secretary, said. Meeting the workforce challenge was a topic at last year's nuclear cleanup workshop, where a high-level industry panel addressed the need. Two senior contractor executives talked about what they see as needed to accommodate a varied set of circumstances among workers and ways to expand the workforce.
Let's look at the demographics of everybody's workforce. You have the folks that have 4-year or more degrees and diplomas. We've got some folks that have associate's degrees, but they fell short of a bachelor degree. We have some folks that post-high school, they had some education, but fell short of an AA. And some folks who only have a high school diploma, but have always aspired to more. So we want to be in a position where, in the spirit of retooling our workforce, we can foster that desire. And so if we've got an employee who has some college or even associate's degree and wants to go to night school, how can we help them with childcare? How can we help them maybe with a more flexible workplace such that we rely on employees that we know are good, hardworking employees now, but help enable them to grow?
But we do need to ensure that we are working on internships or working with the local colleges and just getting all the different labor categories that we need in place so that we have folks ready to take over as others leave. So,
Kristen Ellis, head of regulatory and policy affairs for EM, talked about how today's new graduates are approaching the world of work and how this view raises the stakes when it comes to securing a reliable workforce.
To think about how students are approaching the world, how they're thinking about jobs. And I think for my generation and older, the notion of a career and the notion of committing to one thing for a decade or more was a lot more on my mind, at least, than I think what you talk about now, 2 to 3 years, or maybe less, and the idea of mobility and moving out and not being necessarily tied to a regional location. And you can come and join this field, and there's opportunities all across the country. And maybe you come to Oak Ridge and love it and stay, but maybe you leave Oak Ridge because there's another opportunity in Idaho or Hanford. And that's a strong selling point, and we have a lot of, we've discussed diversity of opportunities in a lot of different fields, and resonating that it is not just STEM. I recognize that. We have huge needs in contracting and legal and HR and cyber and all of the above. So there's opportunities for everyone, and if you want to stay on the East Coast and the West Coast, work in Carlsbad, it's all there. Maybe you're...
We'll be right back with more right after this from Fluor. We've heard what folks from government and industry think about the EM workforce challenges, but what about the employees? What do they think? We had a chance to find out. While putting this episode together, we ran across Carly Howard. Barley is a recent graduate of James Madison University who joined the EM communications team in DC 6 months ago. We asked her how she chose EM as her first job out of college.
In my junior year, I was very unclear of where I wanted to go. And then I got lucky to get an internship with an office at James Madison University, which was the Center for the Advancement of Sustainable Energy at JMU. So they did a lot of clean energy work on campus. So I kind of got involved in the STEM and energy world through that. And I did a lot of communications for them. And so starting my senior year, I knew that I wanted to work in the sciencey, energy field, but I wasn't exactly sure how to get there, and I knew I wanted to move to DC, so I figured Department of Energy was hopefully where I'd end up, but I wasn't exactly sure how to get there. And so I found the job through EM. So I found that job on LinkedIn, I believe, and it worked out perfectly. It was right up the alley of what I wanted to do, and I couldn't be happier with how it worked out. With EM, they were telling me about all of their goals and what they've accomplished so far, and it was really cool to hear that something I was doing would be kind of helping towards a bigger issue. And so that was a big drawing point for sure. I would definitely love to stay with EM and hopefully work my way up through the office. I would encourage it 100% for everyone. It's been such a smooth transition. Everyone has helped out, getting to know, since it is my first real job outside of college, it's not an internship. Everyone's just helped out and made the transition smooth and helped me learn how things go. And EM's a great place to be. It's just nice. Everyone's very friendly and feels like a big family.
We move now to this week's Spotlight interview. To bring the EM Priority Hiring Initiative into sharper focus, we talked with Damion Ferguson at EM headquarters in Washington. Damion is Supervisory Diversity Manager, specializing in workforce development. We're talking with Damion Ferguson today, and Damion is the Supervisory Diversity Manager for DOE EM, and we're going to be discussing EM's current hiring needs. Welcome to the podcast, Damion.
Thank you, Michael. It's a pleasure to be back again.
Well, we're glad to have you here. You've been a guest previously, and we're glad to have you back. Let's start by talking about what's driving the need for more EM workers. What kind of situation are you finding yourself in where you need more people on the job now?
It's a great question, Michael, and I think that it's not just relegated to EM, but I think that as we look at the larger cleanup industry, we're seeing that it's an aging workforce. And so that's one of the drivers that is helping to make this a critical issue for our organization when we talk about hiring. The fact that the aging workforce, we have approximately 57% of our workforce that will be eligible to retire in the next 3 years. And that's a huge value proposition when we talk about knowledge transfer, the knowledge continuity, so that we may be able to continue to fulfill mission. Additional to that is the diversity and inclusion conversations that many of us are having. Much of that work is also starting to take shape, right? As we enter new and attract different talent into our systems, that also comes with a price. And that price is ensuring that we have the psychological as well as physical safety for those individuals to be able to meet and reach their highest potential. And then last, but certainly not least, the shifting priorities of this work, right? As we get closer and closer to fulfilling parts of the mission of the EM program, it's also about what happens next. And so as we gear up for what happens next, we want to ensure that we are appropriately putting into place things that will support our workforce so that as they transition to new horizons, that they may also have the skills available to them so that they may be able to compete.
How would you characterize the critical nature of the employment situation, the worker availability situation now? Is it a critical situation now, or is it something that's going to evolve over time into a critical matter, or how would you characterize that now?
I definitely see it as a evolving issue. The more that we start to take the opportunity to intentionally look at this as a potential opportunity or potential challenge, right? Right now, we see it as something that could be impeding our ability to accomplish mission if we don't have the right talent at the right time to fulfill that mission. And so, yes, we see the critical mass of this really evolving, but if we don't start addressing it now, we will see it even much more of a challenge to accomplishing the mission.
When we talk about your areas of concern right now, are we primarily looking at the direct EM organization, or are you also concerned about the contractor workforce across the complex?
You know, as I mentioned earlier in our comments, I think that we're looking at this from the macro level, both at the federal, so the federal workforce, as well as the contractor workforce. Much of the workforce we know have spent most of their careers helping us to accomplish and really fulfill this mission. And so as many of our workforce are nearing the next journey of their life, some retirement, some other opportunities in the cleanup mission and cleanup space, we want to just ensure that we have not only that continuity of knowledge, but that we're also taking advantage of that talent in terms of how we're taking that knowledge and transferring it over. So we're looking at both the federal workforce and our contractor workforce because they will be very vital to our ability to accomplish and fulfill that mission.
How many people are in the direct EM workforce right now as part of the government operation?
So we have a little over 1,100 employees that support the federal component of the EM program. We are endeavoring to take that number higher, and so there will be a few efforts that I will highlight as a part of this conversation that we will hopefully encourage individuals to take advantage of. Our goal is to ensure that we are able to have the full bench strength so that we may be able to meet not only the mission, but to meet mission timely, right? Because time is of essence, time is money, and we know that with the dollars that Congress have earmarked for this program, we want to ensure that we're being good fiduciary stewards of that so that we may be able to ensure that our tax dollars have the same confidence and our abilities to accomplish that work as we've had from day one when the program first started.
So you have 1,100 or so in the direct EM organization. Do you know approximately how many are in the contractor operations across the complex in total?
Yes, sir. Much of the responsibility of the EM program is focused on oversight. So for every one federal employee, we have approximately 10 contractor employees to help us fulfill the mission and real work of this operation or this program. And so we have close, if not upwards of approximately 30,000 contractors who support the work that we're doing.
Okay. In your current initiative, the EM hiring initiative, what kind of people do you need? What are the skills and disciplines that you're looking for primarily?
Michael, this could not be a more perfect question because we need everyone. We need every skill as we continue to take this work into the future. But for the sake of this conversation, want to maybe highlight a couple of opportunities, such as our 1102 or contract specialist opportunities. As I've mentioned, much of the work that we do is really focused or centered around oversight, and our contracts work really helps us to enable not only that we find the right vendors and contractors to support our work, but that we also have the right procurement processes in place to make those things a reality. In addition to the contract specialists or 1102s, as we affectionately call them, we also are looking for our general or interdisciplinary engineers. We're looking for physical scientists. We're looking for information technologists. Additional to those mission critical occupations, we're also looking for management and program analysts who will help us to analyze how we're doing business and ensuring that our organization has the effectiveness to get those things done. And then lastly, budget analysts. We can't do any of this without having the right dollars in place and the right people helping us to move and make sure that those dollars are being moved appropriately in accordance to the rules and regulations. So as you see, Michael, it's a full scope of work that are disciplines that we're looking for to help us to continue to fulfill this most important mission.
But what are you doing to find these people?
It's kind of all hands on deck, right? I think that it's a combination of utilizing our what we call social currency, individuals within our workforce, helping them to become the ambassadors that we need to really create proximity to some of the work that will be needed. And so we have leveraged that through our in-person visits to college campuses, as well as our abilities to connect with talent at national conferences and or national societies and their interactions. And then lastly, we've been creating and having a greater presence on our social media because we believe that getting information to people where they are or meeting them where they are will help them to take the journey that is required to become a EM employee, right? Because in EM, everyone matters, and that everyone matters is really distilled in a way that provides a lived application. And that lived application allows for those individuals who are in the system, in the workforce, to also go back out and help to attract the next generation of that talent. It's important because it also helps us to, as I mentioned earlier, with the knowledge transfer and knowledge continuity, we believe mentorship is a really great conduit for that. And so helping our current workforce understand their roles in this effort, while also attracting that next generation, I think is also helping us to put in some really meaningful practices that makes individuals seek EM as that employer of choice versus us trying to find people to come work for us.
Well, you may have started to answer my next question with those comments, but I'd like to hear a little bit about your sales pitch. What do you tell potential employees about working with EM and why they should choose EM as a career?
Well, I liken it to my personal experience of the organization because I think that in me being able to speak to my experience allows others to create not only the proximity, but also see the opportunity that exists within the organization. We have used this catchphrase within the internal organization that says the Office of Environment Management is a place where everyone matters. Everyone matters conveys that every individual is essential and valuable, regardless of backgrounds, abilities, or circumstances, because it's those things that will allow us to complete the mission of this organization. So if you're looking for a place to use your heart and your mind, this is the place to be.
Well, very good. How is it going overall? How's the recruitment going? Do you feel like you made good progress? I know you said this is a sort of a long-term project that you're working on, but can you see progress? And who are your competitors competing with you for these same kinds of workers?
I would like to say that we are getting a lot of great response, positive response or receptivity. We could measure that from our articles that we're putting out about opportunities for individuals to apply to. We can also quantify that with the individuals who are actually applying to our opportunities. So much so that I mentioned that we have a few efforts that we are bringing online to really help us meet the talent needs of some of our managers. One program that we brought online is an early career program called Pathways. We had over 1,100 individuals apply for the 30 positions that we are currently advertising. So I would like to say that I think that there's a lot of excitement about the opportunities that we have within the organization. And I would also like to say that people are looking for both purpose and passion. And this mission that we have within the EM organization is allowing people to do just that, meet their purpose as well as their passion, because that will help them to meet their fullest potential. So we don't like to call them competitors, as we like to call them competimates, right? Because we are all in this for the same reason, and that is really to ensure that all people have the same privileges afforded to them to live a healthy, productive life through some of the programs that we offer through our EM Cleanup program. So our competimates, we like to say, are other defense or Department of Defense organizations. We would like to also say the Environment Protection Agency is another competitor of ours, but we are also competing against industry. So the Amazons, the Googles, the Facebooks or Metas of the world, because those are things that also allowing people to meet and really define what their purpose and passion is. So fortunate for the EM program is that we've been rooted in our purpose and passion for upwards of 35 years, or as long as this program has been around.
Well, you described this as an evolving situation, one that you'll look at over a matter of years, really. But so you have an immediate need for some people right now, but you're also planting the seeds for the future workforce through the initiatives that you have with colleges and universities, and even down to the K through 12 student programs where you're creating interest in energy and environment as a future career opportunity. Can you tell us a little bit about that, particularly what you're doing at the college level?
Yes, as I mentioned, our Pathways program really is focused around getting early career individuals really primed for our pipelines. And so we're looking at all of our resources to help us to meet that need. All of our resources are including our intern programs that give experience and exposure to our talent. Um, Fellowship programs, which gives them a little bit more rigor, and it also allows for them to hone those skills in a way that allows for them to apply for our open announcements. We're looking at those programs because we believe that development and learning will be key, particularly because we have so many individuals who are right at the cusp of retirement. And we want to ensure that we're able to take advantage of the time that we do have with them, as well as gearing up to ensure that we are able to transcend or transition some of that information to the next generation of this workforce. Our Pathways program becomes even more important to this effort because it is a cohort program that allows for us to bring in upwards of 30 individuals at one time per cohort. And so that gives us at least the opportunity to really hone our development with that talent to ensure that they have the skills in order for us to be able to continue to meet the demand of this work. The last thing I will mention in terms of our ability to continue to evolve this and really look at programs from a pipeline perspective is our stretch assignments or rotational opportunities in which we're giving individuals within our headquarters organization the opportunity to have some exposure with our field sites, and vice versa, our field sites having some opportunity to understand the perspectives of a headquarters organization. And so we believe that those experiences will also create a more well-rounded, robust employee that we could leverage for not only the short term, but also for our long-term needs as well.
Damion, we all are familiar with the havoc and chaos that the COVID pandemic caused for so many businesses and organizations in the country. We're coming out of that now. What impact do you see the results of COVID having on your employee recruitment efforts?
I think it taught us a really good lesson, right? And that lesson was that we could not solely rest our laurels on in-person events because we were missing out on a lot of talent. And with this pandemic, we were able to see more ways that we can connect with more talent across the country in a real-time way. So much so that even as we are starting to enter back into the workplace, we are still leveraging some of that virtual presence to be able to connect with underrepresented communities, to meet with more talent that would not have traditionally been included in some of the opportunities or activities that we've engaged in. And so it has really provided an opportunity for us to be even more inclusive in our hiring efforts as well as our outreach activities. So I would like to say it has helped us in a positive way to be much more intentional about how we are including even those who may not have been in our peripherals into the conversation. Um, and that has also helped us to create new programs and new ways of interacting. One way that we've started to interact differently since the pandemic is creating more information sessions. And that has helped us to increase our brand awareness in communities that we didn't have a lot of traction in. And it has also increased our abilities in terms of individuals applying for our opportunities those that we've had these special sessions for.
Well, one last question for you. If one of our, or one or more of our viewers or listeners to this podcast feel that they have the skills and experience, the kind of resume that you're looking for in some of these jobs that you're trying to fill, how can they express interest in these positions?
Great question, and really a great opportunity for me to give you all my sales pitch. Please, please, please visit our EM website. We have all of our opportunities listed there for our internships, our fellowships, our recent graduates who are coming out, our early career professionals. We have opportunities that we're advertising for our mid to experienced professionals, as well as senior executives, right? So the full lifespan or life cycle of our employee cycle we're looking for. And so all of those opportunities you may find on our EM website, but not only there, you can also find them on our social media. So please visit our Facebook page, our Twitter pages, by which you will also be kept abreast of jobs that we're featuring, as well as information sessions that are on the horizons by which individuals can take advantage of.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Damion, it's always good to talk to you, and I appreciate you being our guest again today. And I wish you all the best in your quest for new workers and all the activities that you're involved in. Thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you, Michael, for the invitation again. And we hope that we see you all applying for our opportunities, because in the Office of Environment Management, everyone matters.
Today's episode of the Gone Fission Nuclear Report is brought to you by Fluor. We're building a better world.